Hey everybody, this is Robot here from Vespa Motorsport here in San Diego, the Vespa and Piaggio dealer here in San Diego County. Also scooterwest.com for all things Vespa or Piaggio related, along with the full line of AdMore light kits. Here we got the AdMore light kit, universal light kit. Have it installed on this GIVI Trekker Outback 58-liter aluminum top case. Typically, there's no other way to add lighting to this top case since it doesn't have the clear lenses like many of the other aftermarket and some factory top cases. This is a perfect solution, very simple to install, and you can see it adds a lot of extra visibility to the back of your motorcycle or scooter. Especially up high, I think that's very important. You're right at the eyesight level of the motorists behind you in cars that are typically looking at car brake lights and not the single small brake light that's found on a motorcycle or scooter. Has many functions built in. It's got a modulator for the brake light. It's got a turn signal for both left and right sides. And the turn signal functions with the brake light as well. All built into a protected microprocessor controller that's included with the AdMore light kit. So we've been a long time reseller of AdMore lighting products. They're here in North America, in Canada, and all their products are made in North America, which is a good thing. This isn't some cheap overseas LED lighting product. I love the quality of their products. I love the dedication that they have to their products. Best part about this product is, you probably stumble across this video, is it's the universal top case light kit. They make many light kits that are specific to both GIVI, SHAD, and OEM top cases that convert the reflectors found on many of those top cases. They'll have like a clear reflector and puts LEDs behind it, give it a really clean look. But say you have something like this aluminum top case or some other part on your motorcycle or scooter that you want to add extra turn signals and tail light, brake light, along with the modulating. This is the perfect kit for you. Their part number on this is LED 1213H-T-TS. Our part number on it, if you're looking to buy it here in San Diego or on our web source, scooterwest.com, is MI99-UNV. AdMore Light also makes a larger version of this that has much longer LED strips. I found this smaller kit works perfect for the application I'm going to use this on. So what's inside the kit? Let's get right to it. You have a pair of bicolor, fully sealed LED modules, very, very bright. You can see the pins aren't installed on the wires, which is a very nice feature. So you're able to drill a really small hole for just the wiring to pass through your top case. And with this top case, it's a very expensive top case. I really don't want to have huge holes in it. I'd rather keep the integrity of the water tightness of this case. And I feel I'll be able to do that with this kit. Next, you got the control module. This is the Generation 2 control module. Has many different settings. You can turn off the running light, the strobe. It also has a setting that makes it compatible with motorcycles that use a CAN bus taillight. Typically motorcycles like that, mostly BMW, they have just a pair of wires going to the taillight. So they use a pulse width modulation to control the brake and taillight. This kit is completely compatible with that. And you see there's a sealed module, a pair of the sealed connectors, so you could take the top case off and leave the module behind with the motorcycle or scooter. Also included is an 11mm drill bit that's useful for drilling through a plastic top case for the pass-through connector, the bulkhead connector that they include that's sealed. Adhesive strips to secure the wiring inside your top case. Alcohol wipes to wipe the surface prior to installing these 3M high bond adhesive strips on the LEDs. And my favorite connection, the Posi tap. It's been a very, very reliable connection for low current applications, such as some LED lights, to tap into your stock wiring without damaging the stock wiring or making any cuts. So another option, in addition to the universal light kit from AdMore Lights, are the various light bars that they have available. You can ignore the flicker, that's just the refresh rate in our camera. It doesn't have any sort of flickering. It has all the same functions as the universal light kits and any other Topcase light kits, and an easy to install single bar application. You can get them with tinted lenses, you can get deluxe ones that have more features with brighter and more additional LEDs. It can easily mount to a Topcase or to the license. So keep that in mind, that's another option. And the part numbers for these are on the screen. So only a few basic tools are needed to install this whole entire kit. Most important, you're going to need a drill. I got a cordless drill driver right here. It does include the 11mm drill bit to puncture the hole for the bulkhead connector, but you may want to make smaller holes for the wire pass-throughs. I tend to recommend a step drill bit. You can find these at Harbor Freight or any other tool shop. Some other useful tools is I use the spudger. This is a very large spudger to kind of open up body gaps to help route the wiring. Not necessary, but it was useful. A set of diagonal cutters. You may need to shorten the wires or clip the zip ties. I'd recommend having some zip ties on hand to secure the wiring, not included with the kit. If you're installing this on a motorcycle or scooter you're using out in the rain, I would recommend putting dielectric grease on the electrical connections. Other tools that came in handy, I had a Phillips screwdriver to remove some panels, along with a T40 Torex to remove the panels on the scooter. Of course, every motorcycle or scooter, depending on how far you need to take it apart to access the wiring, you may need a different set of tools. Also, you may find a tape measure or a ruler handy to set up the lighting symmetrical. I just roughed it right in. Didn't have any problem doing it, but it may be helpful to use some sort of measuring device. So the first hole I'm going to drill is for the bulkhead connector. So this is a sealed connector that will pass through the top case. It's got an included lock on it. And you can see they come out at two different right angles, which allows you to put this inside the case on the back. Another option is to put it on the bottom of the case so the wire will exit like this from the left side. So either the right side you could do on the back, or the left side you could do on the bottom of your top case. All user preference, how you want to do this. This is a new and improved design. That's why I like AdMore Lights, is they tend to improve their designs over the years and come up with very nice value added and reliably added features to their products, make them work much better. Very high quality connector, all gold plated connections, and once it's connected, it's fully sealed. Both the bulkhead that goes through your top case along with the connection. So I brainstormed where I want to put this connector. I decided I'm going to put it on this 45-degree surface right here. It'll be rather tucked out of the way, and inside the case I'll put it right about there. You could use a tape measure and measure from the inside to the outside, but I'll give it a good visual and go ahead and drill the hole from the inside. Again, about 11mm hole. I'm going to use one of these step drill bits. They work rather good for this kind of application. So I'll just start right about there, and this connector will be nicely tucked out of the way. So this is a nice sharp bit. It should start on its own. And then going very low speed, make sure you don't run anything on the other side. And don't go too large, because once you're too big on the hole, it's going to be difficult to install this. So it looks like I just need to go one size larger on the steps. So there you go. Fits perfect. Get the shavings out of there. And we'll go ahead and install the bulkhead connection. So the connection's got a plastic nut along with a rubber washer. We'll leave the rubber washer in place. We'll go ahead and set the connector into the hole and thread the plastic nut right into place. And I found you do not want to take a wrench to that nut. Just tighten it as tight as you can tighten it with, finger tight pretty much, and it will stay in place. The rubber washer tends to seal it along with hold everything in place. Pretty well, easy, straightforward design. So you got the pair of fully sealed LED strips. They can be installed either horizontal or vertical. They can be installed left or right because the left and right positions are just made with the connections, the final connections. Kind of brainstormed a couple ideas. I could put them right like that. I could go horizontal, kind of tuck them like that. You could certainly put them high if it's important to you to have you know, the lighting up high. And you just want to make sure before you install them or drill the holes for the thing that they don't interfere with any operation of the top case. Well, you certainly put them on the lid if you wanted to, the top lid, but I don't know. I'd prefer not to have wiring that moves with a case, so I'm going to leave them on the lower fixed portion of the top case. And kind of going between the two, they may be a little more visual when they're set up vertical like this. But I kind of like the tucked in look of them being set up horizontal. It's gonna cover up my sticker, but oh well. I can always get a new sticker. So I'm gonna go ahead and set them both up on the horizontal plane. And I'm gonna have the wire pass through halfway between the latch and the rivet. Kind of gives a little room for the wire to make a bend. And I'll just visually use an automatic center punch to start one. If you want to get really accurate, of course you could use a tape measure or a ruler so you're perfectly symmetrical. But I'll just judge my eyes, just like a good carpenter. Don't necessarily need to have things exactly, but the tolerance is just good enough. All right, this is the part I dread. Let's drill the holes through the top case. So I'm going to use the step drill bit again. You could use something that's probably larger than 3/16 inch or smaller than a 1/4 inch. Nice thing about the step drill bit, you could kind of figure out what you need to, what size works best. So I'm going to drill it right to 3/16. A lot of material to drill through with this top case. And go from the other side. Let's see, go right up to 3/16. We'll see if the wire will pass through, because I don't really want to go any larger than I don't have to. So it looks like 3/16 is perfect. So I'll be able to clean the surface, install the LED module right there, and only a small amount of wire exposed, and I'll go ahead and seal the inside of that with some silicone or urethane caulking. So damage is done, the holes are drilled. Typically with drilling holes, especially in aluminum, you're going to end up with some burrs. You can use a deburring tool, if I could say it, or you could just use a pocket knife and just kind of carve off that burr. Just make the wire ever, go through a little bit cleaner. Chamfer the edge. So included with the kit is a pair of alcohol wipes, and with anything self-adhesive, you want to clean the surface rather good. So I'm going to take one part of it and clean right across here where the self-adhesive strip will go. You can see it pulled up a lot of dirt and grime off the case. And once you do that, you can use a clean section of the alcohol prep wipe to get the last little bit of dirt and residue right off the case. Especially a plastic case. Plastic has a lot of oils in it, so you need to clean it. Aluminum, I feel, is going to stick a lot better. Let the alcohol dry off, evaporate away, and kind of decide where I want to put this. Should I do it halfway between the rivets, or should I do it closer to the last rivet on the edge? I think I'll do it close to the last rivet on the edge and right up against the top surface of the top case. This is 3M VHB tape, very high bond. So once you stick it, it's not coming off without ripping the tape. So kind of get a good visual, you can pull the wire out a little bit, go all the way up to the top of the case. I think that looks pretty good. So, yeah, this is a custom molded vinyl sealed pocket for the wiring. And I got the wiring kind of nice and tucked in there so it looks pretty clean. And we'll repeat with the other side. There we go. So included with the two lights, now that the wires pass through, are two plastic connector housings. You want to get the wire color orders right along with the orientation. You can see that these pins have a little one-way kind of fish hook style thing, so they only fit in one direction on this connection here. And one way to double check that you're doing it correctly, I always like visual cues, you know, as a reminder. So you can see it's got a little tab. Just go ahead and plug the connector right in. So, you know, yellow to yellow. So that'll be our first one. The little fish hook kind of goes up towards the hole. And you want to push it all the way in until it clicks, and now it's in there. So next one, we'll do the middle one, which is red. Just enough room to kind of get the pin in there. Another option is to get all the pins kind of positioned. Maybe a little easier than the way I'm doing it here. So pop that one in. And the last one, which is black. And if you want to take this a step further, you could always put heat shrink over this whole assembly, kind of cover up the wires, but you see all the wire colors match. The connection will easily disconnect if you ever need to dismantle the connection. There's plenty of length of wiring for any top case installation, or if you're doing it in a fixed box on a large motorcycle or trike, trailer, whatever. It's very universal. So, and the pin connections will be the same for the right side too. Now we'll go ahead and hook it up. So if you're sitting on the bike, this would be your left side, and this one would be your right side. So we'll go ahead and hook up the left. And the right. And plenty of width if you wanted to do these further apart. But right here works perfect for me. So includes 4 self-adhesive hold downs for the wiring. Nice thing with this GIVI Trekker 58-liter top case is it's got a foam and rubber floor mat, so I'll just hide the wiring underneath the floor mat. Nice and easy. They also have these little hooks right here that I'll kind of tuck the wiring out of the way. Just kind of make use of what's already on the top case. And then we'll use the self-adhesive latches. So the second alcohol prep pad, go ahead and wipe some of the areas that we're going to do the wires. I'll do a pair of wires straight down. Very important, you don't want these wires entangled with whatever you're putting in the top case, whether it be a helmet or bags. The one thing is if you have loose wires, you know, you can easily entangle with some of this stuff and make a mess. So I'll just use the rest of the alcohol prep. I'll probably put another one right here and one here. It comes with 6 of those self-adhesive wire loops. Let the alcohol dry. The way I like to do these is I'll pop the wire in it, and then I'll pull the self-adhesive pad off it, and we'll go ahead and adhere it in place. Put some good pressure on it, onto the little the pads here. And that should be a pretty tidy installation. All right, so we're complete with the top case, with the exception of putting some sealant around the pair of holes where the wires pass through. One thing that's nice about the wiring on these kits is very thick insulation, so you don't necessarily need a grommet They have very small conductors, but they're heavily insulated with a lot of vinyl. So no need to put a rubber grommet to protect the fragile wiring. You put the mat right back in place, kind of sits right there, protects this connection right here, and the connection does not make contact to the ground. So you need to find a spot where this will make the connection to your top case and you have access to the wiring on your motorcycle or scooter. The tail light and brake light along with the turn signal wiring. Kind of brainstormed around on this scooter, don't want to really drill any big holes, and I did not want to remove my whole entire rack contraption, but I found I loosened up the rack enough and I'd be able to pass the connector right through the area where the rack goes through. So you pass the connector through. Obviously you always want to make sure you don't pinch any of the wiring, and I'd be able to put this back in place and the wiring happens to come right out of there perfect. So I'll figure out the length. That's just necessary to make the connection. Don't need to have more length than I need. So our connection's right here. Go different ways. I could probably go underneath. And of course I could secure the wiring to the rack once I'm all finished. So something about that amount of wire should do the trick. And you have it go along the bodywork. You put zip ties through the bodywork if you want to drill a hole. Doesn't really concern me all that much, but I'll probably put a little clamp that holds the wiring. Give it just enough slack where it's tucked underneath the rack. If you really wanted a clean look, you could take the whole entire rack apart and maybe even snake the wiring through a rack. It may take a lot of time. Just giving you some ideas on how you could pass this through. Didn't have to drill any holes. Just found a little gap in the bodywork where I'm able to send the wire through without pinching it or damaging the wire. But it's enough of a strain relief that it keeps the wire from being damaged. So there's many ways to secure the wiring. You could use something as simple as a zip tie or tape. You could do better routing through the internal cavities of the rack. Like I suggested, I don't really have time for that in this video. Or you could use a little simple wire clip like this that uses a single screw to attach it. Isn't included with a kit, but pretty easy to get from a hardware store or an auto parts store. They would have assortments of these kind of clips. Just using a single screw, drilled a little pilot hole right into the plastic and just tighten the screw. Now the wire's kind of held out of the way, away from the handle, but still can be disconnected and left disconnected if you need to take the top case off. So we got this spaghetti of 5 wires off the AdMore light kit. Got to make the connections to the motorcycle or scooter. A couple ways to go about this. As you can see, there's 5 different functions for the wire, or technically 3 different power wires and 1 ground. A couple ways you can go about that. You can find the original wiring diagram for your vehicle, whether motorcycle, scooter, and you could trace the wires that go to your 12-volt switch, which could be a tail light that stays on all the time. You could do the brake light, finding the brake light wire, the right turn signal, left turn signal, and then of course ground, which is sometimes black on Vespas and Piaggios. I know Honda uses green, black in a lot of European vehicles. I'm not sure what Harley uses, but lots of different variations in the wire colors. There's no standard wire color set. They just typically follow the brand. Another way to go about it is the physically probe the wiring behind the brake light and turn signal, and figure out what functions each of the lights with the multimeter. Of course, that takes a little bit more technical abilities to figure it out. One thing to keep in mind is the module has protection, so if you do make a wiring mistake, you're not going to damage anything. So rest assured, even if you're going to poke around, you should be in good hands not to mess anything up. So with Vespa and Piaggio scooters, they tend to stick to the same wire color. So ground is black, which is same color on the wiring harness. The yellow wire, which is the left turn signal, goes to a pink wire, which ultimately goes to the left rear turn signal. Green goes to your right turn signal. It's white with a blue stripe. Your brake light is going to be a white with a black stripe. Looks really similar to the right turn signal wires, so you need to look at them very closely before you make the connection. The 12-volt switch, which just comes on with the taillight. As with many vehicles, taillight just comes on right when you turn ignition on. It could be either a yellow with black, which is a taillight wire on many Vespas, or the orange wire, which is a switched power source on a Vespa or Piaggio scooter. So I've already found a good location where I can access all 5 of these wires, and we'll make the connections. So on this Piaggio BV350, I didn't have to take anything apart. None of the body panels had to come off to do this whole entire job. There's a rubber cap that accesses a turn signal bulb that's only used on the European models, but they still leave the rubber caps in place. Take it off, and voila, there's the complete cornucopia of wiring that goes to the whole rear of the scooter, whether it's this light, your taillights, turn signals, all that stuff. It's got LED brake and taillight on this. I see all my colors. I carefully sliced open the vinyl insulation very, very carefully with a sharp knife, and you can see the various wire colors under here. And of course there's repeated functions of the wires because they have a couple taillights. They got left and right. And it takes a little bit of work to get all the wires out, but we'll start with the black. And you can see there's several blacks. They all have the same function, ground. You could use some type of spudger to kind of pull it away. And now we'll use the posi tabs. One thing with this wiring, it is exposed to the elements a bit. I mean, it's pretty tucked up in the bodywork, but I use this scooter out in the weather. So I want to make sure my connections are somewhat weather tight. I'm not going to go as far as completely potting them with material or using special heat shrink, but I want to make sure that they don't have any corrosion. So I use something like the dielectric grease, which I've used in many of my other videos. A very small amount right in there because there's going to be a small pin that punctures the wire that makes the low current connection to the wire. So I got my black connection. Go ahead and do that. Just thread that right on, and you saw I used the gray cap that straddled the wire. And there you go. It's a nice positive connection. Don't want to tighten these too tight, they will break. Next, we'll get the power wire, which is going to be one of these orange, actually orange with a white stripe. Again, you kind of need to pull it away, stagger the wires. There's going to be plenty of room in here, which is good when we're all finished. Small amount of dielectric grease. It's more like a lot there, but doesn't hurt anything. So now we're going to make the wiring connections. You can just pull the insulation right off the wires. And you pull the ferrule right off the posi tap, slide it right over the wire. And again, small amount of dielectric grease. So starting with my black, so black to black on this scooter. And once you make the connection, tighten it, give it a tug, make sure it's tight. Next one will be our orange, which is down here, which will go to our red wire, which is the switched or taillight wiring. And always give them a tug because sometimes you don't get a positive connection or the wire doesn't get pinched. The brake light, which will be our blue wire. Pink wire being the left turn signal, which is the yellow wire on the harness. And our last wire, the right turn signal. All right, for the moment of truth, let's see if everything works before I button this up. So far so good. Our taillights are working. We have the standard taillights on the scooter and now have an extra set that are much higher, more at the level of the car drivers that are behind you. Let's pull the brake and see what happens. You see it does a couple strobes. Let's see how the turn signals work. And I got the directions right. Very, very bright. Nice extra turn signal there. All works perfectly. I can tuck all the wiring away and we're good to go. So included with the latest revision of the module that controls the LED lighting, they have a 4-position dip switch, has a couple different functions. By default, they are all in the up or on position. So this is switch 1. And you can turn off the brake light modulations. There's some areas that don't allow for a modulated brake, so all you do is take a real small pin or a knife and just click the switch down if you do not want the brake light modulation on. And the LED brightness, the default is high. There's also a lower setting if for some reason you want them not quite as bright. The taillight, you could turn the taillight off, and some people may like that because you get more contrast. So it's more like a third brake light coming on. And number 4, you typically don't need to touch. It's the standard mode, which is on. And the dip switch 4 is always to be left in a default position except for you using the AdMore power harness for trailer applications. Don't know much about that, but I'm sure the AdMore lighting website can elaborate on when that dip switch is used. So now that we've tested everything and are ready just to button up the last little bit, we'll take the module, and I think there's going to be just enough room to tuck it up into the bodywork. You got to take extra care not to damage this module. It's a printed circuit board that's encapsulated in some heat shrink tubing. Can't really handle flex if you're going to put some load on it. But right around the wires, no big deal. I'll go ahead and zip tie the extra slack of wires. Don't really need the extra wiring slack, so flopping around that could come in contact with a muffler or something moving. Use a small pair of dikes. You can cut the zip ties right off, and we'll see what we could do. So I got the wiring there. It's all been sealed up with a dielectric grease, and it looks like I'll just be able to tuck this right in here and then pop the rubber cap right back in place, and it's not going anywhere. So I hope everybody liked that video. Whether you're a motorcyclist that stumbled across our website on the installation of this, or you're an avid scooterist, love the Vespas and love our channel, just kind of gives you insight on how to install a product like this. There's other options, as I showed you. The light bar, that's even simpler to install than compared to these universal light kit. All up to you. Both are available on our website, scooterwest.com. If you're looking for a new Vespa or Piaggio scooter, vespamotorsport.com. You can follow us on Instagram or Facebook, Vespa Motorsport. Follow me, Robot Vespa. Check out our other videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Robot here. Until next time, ride with the rubber side down and ride safe.